The silence was heavy in the old Victorian house. Dust motes danced in the pale moonlight that filtered through the grimy windows, casting long, distorted shadows on the wall. As I walked through the cavernous hallways, the floorboards creaking beneath my feet, I couldn't shake off the feeling that I wasn't alone. It was subtle at first, a fleeting glimpse of movement in the periphery, the whisper of tiny footsteps behind me, but then it became more pronounced. It was then that I heard it, a soft, lilting laughter echoing down the hallway, bouncing off the walls like a playful yet distant memory. The sound of a child's laughter, innocent and carefree, yet tinged with an eerie familiarity. Was I going crazy, or was there really a child in this abandoned house? The old house had been in my family for generations, each room filled with its own stories, its own echoes of the past. But lately, strange things had been happening. Doors slammed shut, footsteps echoed in the dead of night, and now the sound of children's laughter. My rational mind tried to dismiss it, attributing it to the wind or perhaps the settling of an old house, but deep down, a shiver of unease ran through me. I wasn't alone in this house. I could feel it, sense it all around me, yet I couldn't see it. The presence was like a whisper in the shadows, a fleeting glimpse of a figure at the edge of my vision. I tried to convince myself that it was just my imagination, the product of a tired mind and a house groaning under the weight of its own history. But the more I tried to ignore it, the more pronounced it became. Then there were the whispers, soft, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. They were like fragments of conversations, snippets of voices from a bygone era. Sometimes they were gentle, sometimes they carried a hint of urgency or despair. I could never quite make out the words, but I could sense the emotions behind them, the joy, the sorrow, the fear. As the days turned into weeks, the activity in the house grew more frequent and more intense. Objects moved, lights flickered, and the whispers grew louder. I started keeping a journal, recording each incident in painstaking detail, hoping to find a pattern, some logic to the madness. But all it did was remind me of how utterly alone I was in the face of whatever was happening. I considered leaving the house, escaping to the familiar comfort of a hotel room, but something kept me rooted to the spot, a morbid curiosity, perhaps, or a stubborn refusal to be driven out of my home by whatever unseen force was haunting it. I decided to stay, to confront whatever was in the house, to uncover the truth behind the whispers and the laughter. It was in the attic that I found the first clue. A child's shoe, small and delicate, tucked away in a dusty corner. It looked like it belonged to a little girl, and it was then that I heard her laughter again, closer this time, as if she were playing hide and seek in the very rafters above me. The attic was filled with my grandmother's things, most of which I had never seen before. I sifted through old trunks and chests, each filled with another layer of my family's history. There were faded photographs, yellowed letters, and countless trinkets that whispered of a bygone era. Amongst the clutter, I found a diary, its pages filled with my grandmother's elegant script. As I read through the entries, I learned about her life, her hopes, her dreams, and her fears. And then I came across an entry that made my blood run cold. My grandmother wrote about a little girl who lived in the house before us, a girl who had died under mysterious circumstances. Her name was Eliza, and according to the diary, she had been the victim of foul play. The entry was vague, alluding to a dark secret that my great-grandparents had been hiding. The more I learned about Eliza, the more I realized that her spirit was the one haunting our house. Driven by a need to set things right, I vowed to find out what had happened to her. I contacted local historians and combed through old newspaper archives, but I couldn't find anything about Eliza or her untimely death. Frustrated, I returned to the house, where the whispers and laughter seemed to mock my inability to find answers. It was then that I noticed something strange about the diary. The entry about Eliza was written in a different hand, and the ink was a different color. It was my great-grandmother's handwriting. I had never seen this before. Had she been hiding something from me? Desperate for answers, I took the diary to an expert who confirmed my suspicions. The diary had been tampered with, the entry about Eliza a recent addition. But who had done it, and why? The revelations shook me to my core. My great-grandmother, the woman I had always admired for her strength and resilience, had been hiding a dark secret for all these years. But why, and what had happened to Eliza? With renewed determination, I delved deeper into my family's past, determined to uncover the truth. Through old family photos and faded documents, I discovered a hidden branch of my family tree. A great uncle I never knew about. His name was William. He had been engaged to Eliza, but their relationship had been forbidden. Their love had been frowned upon by society. And when Eliza became pregnant, my great-grandfather, her father, had arranged for her to be sent away to another part of the country, but not even that could stop their love. They had continued to write to each other, their letters filled with longing and hope for a future together. However, that future was never to be. One day, Eliza's letters stopped arriving. My great-uncle, heartbroken and desperate for answers, had gone to see her, only to discover that she had died. Grief-stricken, he had returned to his family home, unable to bear the pain of losing her, and it was here, in the attic of this very house, that he had taken his own life. Overcome with remorse, my great-grandmother had hidden the truth, protecting her family's name and burying her guilt under layers of secrets and lies. With this new knowledge, the pieces of the puzzle finally fell into place. The whispers and laughter were not just the echoes of a troubled past, but the cries of a young woman scorned and a man consumed by despair. In a way, Eliza's spirit had been haunting the house, seeking justice for the love that had been denied and the life that had been cut short. Now that I knew her story, I felt a sense of responsibility to set things right. I arranged for Eliza to be reburied in a cemetery, this time with a headstone that bore witness to her tragic fate. As I stood at her graveside, I could have sworn I heard her laughter, this time tinged with peace. It was as if she were finally free from the chains of her past, finally at rest. The house is still filled with whispers and laughter, but now I know that they are not a curse, but a blessing. They are the voices of my ancestors, sharing their stories and reminding me of the fragility of life. They are a constant reminder that every laugh, every smile, every moment is a precious gift to be cherished, for we never know when it might be taken away. And so I live in the house, embracing the whispers and laughter, honoring the memories of those who came before me, ensuring that their stories are never forgotten. I can still hear the faint echo of a child's laughter ringing through the halls, and it brings me a strange sense of comfort, for in that laughter I hear the echoes of innocence, of joy, and of a life that was lived to the fullest.